Alright, so this is the first part to the extra credit, or the first question, which is use the following data to calculate the KSP value for each solid. And so we're going to start with part A. So we're going to start with the compound CaC2O4 dissolves into Ca2 plus aqueous plus C2O4 2 minus aqueous. And I forgot to mention this is a solid. Alright. So now we're going to ignore this side right here because it's a solid. We don't really mess around with those. And we're just going to go ahead and write out the equation for KSP. It's going to be, you can see that KSP equals to Ca2 plus bracket, and then bracket C2O4, and then 2 minus bracket. And that's the equation for our KSP. And so we're going to do ice. The initial is 0 because we're not giving anything. So then since that's that, we're going to do plus S, and since equilibrium is S, we're going to do S. Alright, so now that we have this, we can look back over to our KSP equation and Ca2 plus and C2O4 2 minus, and we can plug in the S's and replace these two right here. So KSP now is going to equal to S times S, and S times S equals to S squared. Alright, so now that we have the S squared, all we simply have to do is plug in this number because S equals to 4.8 times 10 to the negative 5. So now we just plug in that number, 4.8 times 10 to the negative 5 squared equals to KSP. Alright, and now we just plug that number into our calculator and let's see what we get. So 4.8 E5 negative, and then we just square that, and I get this 0.00000002. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we can say that KSP equals to 2.00 times 10 to the negative 9. And that's our answer for part A. Now we move on to part B. And so now we have BiO3 is 1.32 times 10 to the negative 5 moles per liter. So we start with the compound. And it dissolves into Bi3 plus aqueous plus I minus. And since there was 3 I's here, there's going to be a 3 in front over here. And that's also aqueous. And this is a solid. 3I minus aqueous. Alright, I'm sorry if you can't see this. I'm holding my phone. Alright. So now that we have this, we're going to ignore this side again. And let's write out the KSP equation, which is KSP equals to Bi3 plus bracket. And then this one's going to be, it's going to be 3, not 3, it's going to be I minus, and then that one's going to be cube. All right. Now that we have the KSP equation, we can start the ice chart. And again, since we're not giving anything initially, we're going to put 0 up here. And since that's now, we're going to put plus S. And right here, instead of just putting plus S, since there's a 3 in front, we're going to do plus 3S. So now it's going to be S, 3S. All right. So now we have our KSP over here. Bi3 plus I minus cube. Now we're going to replace those with what we got over here, which is S and 3S. It's gonna be KSP equals to S times 3S cubed, because this is cubed, and 3 because this is over here, 3S because there's 3 right here. All right, so now in order to do this, we're going to multiply these two first, or we're gonna cube this one first. So it's gonna be 3 times 3, that's 9, times 3, that's 27. So we got a 27 here, and then 3 s's here, so it's gonna be S cubed. And since there's another S over here, that's gonna be 27 S to the 4th. All right, now that we have that, we got KSP equals to 27, and the S is going to be this right here. The solubility is 1.32 times 10 to the negative 5. So we replace that S with that number, 1.32 times 10 to the negative 5. And we're going to do it to the power of 4. And you solve this equation. So let's plug it into our calculator. And it's going to be like this. It's going to be 1.32 e to the negative 5, e to the negative 5, e to the negative 5, and then we're going to do it to the 4th power, and that's what we get for the first part. And then we're going to multiply by 27, so it's going to be times 27 equals that, and that should be our answer for this question. So we're going to do it to 3 sig figs, so it's going to be 8.20 e to the negative 19. And that's the answer for that one. And that's the answer for part A. All right, this is the second part for the extra credit. We have question number 44, which reads: the KSP for lead iodide PbI2 is 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8. Calculate the solubility of lead iodide in each of the following. And we have 3 parts to this question, so we're going to start with water. All right, so let's begin. We're going to start with the chemical equation, which is PbI2, and then it's gonna dissolve into Pb2 plus aqueous, and then plus 2I minus aqueous. And I forgot to put this as a solid there. What is that? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, that's supposed to be a B. All right, so now that we have this, we can do our little KSP for this. It's going to be like this, since we only care about the aqueous reactants, or products, I mean. We're going to KSP equals the concentration of Pb2 plus times the concentration of I minus squared. And that's what our KSP equals. All right, so now we're gonna start with ice chart. Since it's a solid, we don't really look at that. We have aqueous over here, where these are the 2 that we're gonna look at. So initial, we're not given anything, so that stays 0. For C, we can put an S here and another S here. And since there's a 2 in front over here, this S is going to receive a 2. So it's going to be plus 2S and plus S. And the result is going to be S and 2S. And so now we simply replace the S's that we got here into the KSP equation. And since our KSP was given over here 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8, we put it like this: 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8 equals S times 2S squared, because it's squared up here. All right, so That gives us 2 times 2 squared is 4. S squared is S squared times S. That would be 3. So this would be 4S cubed equals to 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8. All right, now we just solve for S right here. So we're gonna start by dividing by 4 and the square root and put the little 3 out there. I forgot what that was called, cube root, I think. So let's do that. So we're gonna do 1.4 e to the 8 negative divided by 4. We're going to do second this, and then we're gonna put 3. And I got this number right here. So 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be 1.5 times 10 to the negative 3. And that equals S. And that would be our answer for part A. All right. So for part B, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna start with the chemical equation. PbI2 solid dissolves into Pb2 plus aqueous plus 2I minus aqueous. And now we're given an initial over here. We're giving a molarity of 0.10 of PbNO32. All right, and the KSP is going to be the same. It's going to be the same throughout the whole question. So concentration of Pb2 plus concentration of I minus squared. All right, and again, we don't look at solids, we only look at the aqueous over here. So now that we have this set up, let's do our ice chart. And we're given an initial, and since there's lead present in this little compound over here, we're gonna put the initial concentration under lead. So it's going to be like 0.10 molar. And then there's nothing here, so we're not giving an initial, we're not gonna put anything there. For this, we're giving, we're gonna put an S here, plus S. And here we're gonna put a plus 2S. And then the result will be like this: 0.10 plus S and then plus 2S. All right, and now we do the same thing again. We replace the elements over here with the S's over here and this one over here. So it's going to look like this now: 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8 equals to 0.10 plus S times 2S squared. And that's going to be our equation now. And we're going to be solving for that. We're going to be solving for S. And here we can make an assumption, since S will be too little to affect 0.10 anyway. We can remove this S over here, and this would simplify into 0.10 times 2S squared. And that would be our new little equation. All right, so now that we got this, wait, the power goes outside, my bad, because then that would be completely different. All right, so now we just simplify that furthermore, and this will turn into S squared 4 times 0.10, and that will turn into 0.10 times 4 equals 0.4. So 0.4 S squared. And now we just solve for S again. We do 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8. You would divide this by 4, or by 0.4. Divide by 0.4, and you're gonna square root that. And we find the answer to that, which is given 1.4 E8 negative divided by 0.4, and then we're going to square root that, and this is what we get. All right. So our answer is 1.8 times 10 to the to the negative 4, and that equals S. All right, and now for the final part, we're given another molarity for sodium iodide. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna write the chemical equation, PbI2S. That's the solid. This dissolves into Pb2 plus aqueous plus 2I minus aqueous. All right. So KSP is going to be the same. KSP equals Pb2 plus concentration of Pb2 plus times the concentration of I minus squared. All right. So we're going to do the same thing, ICE chart. And since there's iodine present in this little compound over here, we're going to be putting the molarity that was given under the iodine. So again, we don't look at the solid. We only look over here. Since we're going to put it under iodine, we're going to put 0.010 for that one. And then we're going to put S over here, plus S, and then plus 2S. So now, after this, we're just gonna get our results, and it's gonna be S, and then 0.010 plus 2S. And we repeat the process again. Now, we're going to plug all of these into this equation over here. So our KSP, which is 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8, is equal to S times 0.010 plus 2S. And again, we can make another assumption here, because since this will be too small for it to affect it anyways, we can remove this 2S over here, and we'll be left with S times 0.010. All right. And now that we have this, wait a second. Oh, I forgot to put the square over here. Yeah, forgot to put the square, because you see how there's a square over here? I completely forgot to square this. Since the concentration of I minus is squared, we're gonna square this little section over here as well. So then this means this is gonna be squared. All right, and you set that equal to 1.4 times 10 to the negative 8, and you're gonna divide that by 0.010 squared, and that should give you the answer for S. So let's do that real quick. So we're gonna do 1.4 e to the 8 negative divided by, oh, you can't see that, 1.4 e negative divided by the square root of 0.010 squared, and we're giving this over here. So our answer is 1.4 times 10 to the 4 to the negative 4, and that equals S. And that answers all 3 parts for the extra credit.